the character that hits the #1 spot on my top 5 favorite character list of the Lord of the Rings series. This is no surprise, no shock. My #1 favorite character is Boromir. And I know for a lot of people that's probably anticlimactic. You know, they're like, why? He died so early, you know, and I'll tell you guys a little bit of why. You know, you could see what was happening to Denethor, his father. Denethor put so much pressure on Boromir because he felt that Boromir was a better son to him because he was loyal and almost like blind loyalty. Whatever his father did, he, like I said, he went and did. You know, he never questioned anything or like used his own sort of like thoughts to be like, wait a second, this isn't the right move that we should make here. Like, no, it showed that he went back and took Osgiliath, and they say it was almost like he single-handedly took it back. And you know, in the extended edition of films, he's like, oh, they exaggerate. You know, the day also belongs to Faramir. Like, he tried to be a good older brother to Faramir, trying to get him the praise that Denethor like gives to him. He's trying to balance between doing what he wants, like what his father wants for his father's love, but also, you know, being a warrior and defending the city. But also on top of that, you know, he has a lot of love for his brother, and he never, like, he hates. He's like, you never give him any credit. He's like, oh, I know Faramir's uses, and they are few. Like, he was just a jerk to Faramir. Again, this is the film side of stuff, and the novel's a little bit different, but still similar in the fact that he had the weight of the world like problems on his shoulders, like, because Gondor was taking the brunt of the force from Mordor. We got to see some of the big things that he was able to do. That how strong and sturdy he was, like moving the snow off the mountains, like with just his arms, and creating paths and killing the wolves that went after him at the Mines of Moria. Again, in the novel part, that didn't happen in the films. And then, you know, you can see that he started to develop a really good relationship with Merry and Pippin, you know, when they were walking along the Misty Mountains, right? And they were wrestling. He's like, for the Shire! And they like tackled Boromir because they kicked him in the shin because they like snapped their fingers or whatever. And, you know, he was wrestling them. He had a really good relationship. And as soon as that whole thing happened with Gandalf, he was the first one to say, like, let's give him a moment for pity's sake. And Aragorn's like, dude, like, we're going to get overrun by orcs. Like, I get it. But, like, man, like, we got to get rolling, you know? And then he gets into the forest of Lothlorien, and Galadriel shows him things in his own head and really starts to freak him out, and he starts to see like almost his undoing in a way, and you know, he ends up becoming a villain in a way and tries to take the ring from Frodo. And like I said, I made that Majin Vegeta reference, you know, because I think he learned the error of his ways, like as he, you know, after he tried to take it and then Frodo tripped him and put the ring on and ran off, he's like, shit, like, what did I do? And then he really kind of is like, you know what, I know I'm not going to survive this. He's like, I don't trust myself. I don't even think he trusted himself as continuing on part of the Fellowship. So I think he almost went into that fight wanting to die a little bit. It's like, you know, if you guys ever read the book The Outsiders, like right after and then that one character got killed, and Dallas Winston takes a gun that wasn't loaded and like points at the police just so they could shoot and kill him because he didn't want to live without like that. Like it almost reminded me of that in a way. Like he just went in there knowing full well, like, I'm going here to die. Like I don't care if I survive or not. Like I did something really wrong, and like this is the only way that I can try to make up for it is just take as many of these orcs and defend these two hobbits the best I can, and Merry and Pippin. And you know, because it was crazy. Like they were about to come up. They were like throwing rocks at the orcs, and they were about to come up swimming. And all of a sudden, Boromir grabs the sword of the orc, throws it back, and like I said, I mentioned this already earlier today. Just what he was doing is hacking them up, and then arrows nonstop through the chest. And in the novels it was many, and then in the film it was 3. But it was just really cool, and we finally got to see him like laid to rest, but. We got to see him in his in his zone, right? This is like that's what he does. Like he's a warrior. He died on his shield, which is exactly what everyone who was a warrior at heart would want to do. Like die with sword in the hand, full battled out, killed as many. It's like there was like hundreds of orcs laid around him, is how it was described in the book. And it was so cool that they had to add it to the end of Fellowship of the Ring instead of like put it into like the beginning part of Two Towers in the film, like they did in the books. Like he actually died in the first chapter in the Two Towers in the books, where they added it to the end of the Fellowship of the Ring just because it was such a monumentous moment. And then we get back to Denethor, and Denethor is like inconsolable because Boromir's gone, and the one that he thought he could like count on, he thought Boromir wanted to bring the ring back to him, and that is what Boromir wanted to do. He did it for the love of his father, who was a psycho, who ended up trying to fight with Sauron in the Palantir himself. And so it just is unfortunate like what happened and how it ended. But he's like one of the full his character arc had like a full development. He was like the arrogant guy that you couldn't really stand at first. Then he started to grow on you, and then when he died, you're like, man, Like he could have been, like he could have really turned it around. Like, especially like his last words to Aragorn, like I would have followed, because him and Aragorn always kind of butted heads a little bit. You know, he's like, I would have followed you, my captain, my king, and I just thought that was awesome. You know, it showed like the full turnaround, and you know he saw the error of his ways and he did his best to come back from it. And you know, unfortunately he met an end that was bereft of him, though. You know what I mean? Like that's how you'd want to go out, a warrior's farewell. So for those reasons, man, number one spot of my top 5 goes to Boromir. All right, Chase, go ahead and tell us your number 1.
Much respect. Boromir's badass, but this one goes to Gandalf. He is the shit. Also, Gandalf the Grey, but became Gandalf the White, just like you said. Fought the Balrog. No one else could do it. He's kind of coached these guys from the beginning. He even saved their ass at the Battle of Helm's Deep. I mean, you know, just this entire time, he's kind of been, you know, playing chess with Sauron. It's phenomenal. And even from the perspective of, he even looked out for Bilbo at the very beginning that brought him there. And, you know, just everything he's done along the way has been phenomenal. Even the elves always thought so highly of him as Mithrandir. And it was even like when they thought he was dead, such a loss to even the elves were sad to hear it. But then, you know, even going to where you had over in Minas Tirith, you know, his whole thing where he helped rescue Faramir from burning alive, and just all the different things he did. And as far as in the novel, you know, coming up with the plan to be the diversion for, you know, helping Frodo and Sam get the ring to Mount Doom. Just everything he did, I had to rank him as number 1 on my list, Gandalf. What about you, man?
Me, 5 to 1 of my top 5 favorite characters. It goes number 5, Legolas. Number 4, Galadriel. Number 3, Aragorn. Number 2, Gandalf. Number 1, Boromir. Go ahead and shoot through your top 5.
Number 5, I had Glorfindel and Arwen because they kind of substituted his spot out in the film. Number 4, Aragorn. Number 3, Samwise Gamgee. Sam. And number 2, the elf, the best elf of them all, Legolas, that saved their ass through almost this entire series. Number 1, I got Gandalf the White, Mithrandir. Probably, you could argue, maybe the most powerful of all characters, but definitely a favorite for me. So.